Well, hello and welcome to Understand Men Now. I'm Jonathon Aslay of jonathonaslay.com, and I'm so excited to be doing this live stream for you today. Our topic, why men go silent. Wait, now what's the title? Why men go silent rather than speak up. I can't believe I forgot it. Really quickly, if you're brand new to my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if any time during this video the content resonates with you, please hit that like button so I can be seen in the YouTube algorithms. Really quickly, my coaching is what I call heart-centered radical honesty. It's direct, a little tough love, and a lot of heart. And occasionally I use expletives to enhance a sentence. So if an F-bomb or two isn't your cup of tea, I suggest logging off right now. Lastly, these are my thoughts, my perceptions, my opinions. By no means do I suggest this is the truth. I'm a bit of a contrarian, so my advice goes contrary to public opinion and traditional expectations. So all I ask is you give it a chance and then make up your minds for yourself. Okay, let's talk about why men go silent rather than speak up. So, since my audience is predominantly those in the early stages of dating and relationships, and what I mean is they're in the dating process or the early stages of a relationship, I'm here to acknowledge that the dating process today is rather dysfunctional. It's incredibly dysfunctional. And because I don't believe humans were designed to experience mating with these devices. I really don't believe we were designed this way. I mean, think about this for thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. Mating was based on proximity, meaning we met people that were right in our purview, right in our visual acuity, or at least we're in our tribe, our village, our town, or even the workplace. So now what's happened is we are meeting total strangers and we know so little about them that it makes it very difficult for people to feel a level of trust with each other. And now with this going back to the dating apps or just the you know, I was trying to send a text message earlier today and I had some complex thoughts in my head and I'm like, how do I send this complex thought with my thumbs? And so I actually use voice recording, but think about this from a communication standpoint. Given that 80-90% of communication is nonverbal, we humans weren't designed to communicate with our thumbs in a way that, but think about this even before smartphones 10 years ago, at least we typed. And I used to be able to type, quite a bit, 50 plus, I mean, well, probably I could only type 30 or 40 words a minute. Some people could type 100 plus words a minute, and they could communicate their thoughts and feelings in a much more rapid pace. And while I see millennials go at it with their thumbs like this, we weren't designed to communicate this way. And coming back to what I shared earlier about meeting total strangers, we don't feel a level of trust. So, when you think about speaking up, it requires a level of trust with another person. And yet these days, most people are rushing into a relationship so fast that they haven't even built the roots to trust to actually feel safe enough to communicate. And then add these devices and to add to this equation the expectation of instantaneous communication, instantaneous communication. I know when I got married, which was, I mean, by the way, I'm divorced, but when I got married, which I believe was 30 years ago this year, you know, I mean, I might talk to my wife in the morning, and when I came home, there was barely any communication in between the day. And now in relationships, there's this expectation of incessant communication. And I know for men, that can be a rather challenging. Now, many of you might have heard someone like John Gray said the reason why men go silent is when their testosterone levels are down, whether it's after sex, after a workout, after a stressful day, that they don't want to talk. Okay. Now, that's certainly partly what happens. I mean, that's kind of what happens. I'm actually going to go deeper than the surface. So that's the top, when you see an iceberg, there's the tip, right? That's the tip, the testosterone piece. What we're going to talk about is below the surface, why a man might go silent rather than speak up. And I think when you understand this, when you understand something, you can predict behavior. And when you can predict behavior, you can make better choices. And let me just say this, because I am so against the feminine energy rhetoric that you just lean back when the guy goes silent and just go live your life. Do you know how hard it is to actually stop caring for someone and go live your life? Do you know when you've invested your heart to another human being to just be told cavalierly, well, just go live your life and he may or may not come back and that's okay? To me, that's bullshit. If someone goes silent on you, then my first reaction is get on the fucking horn and go, what the hell is going on in your life? Now, not in a combative way. I'm suggesting, I'm saying it to you in this rhetoric, but I'm not suggesting you go combative. I'm saying, ask what's going on. You can simply say, hey, I've noticed, you've gone silent. Are you okay? Can you let me know you're okay? At least make some effort rather than what you've been told is go live your life. And he's going to watch you so excited on your life because he's following you on Instagram that he's going to naturally gravitate towards you. From my perspective, that's bullshit. This is one of the reasons why I bag on feminine energy coaching, because it's designed to put you in princess mode. It's designed to put you in a passive or subordinate role, and I'm trying to encourage a more empowered role in your life. So let's explore some of the reasons why a man might go silent rather than speak up. So I'm going to put on my trusty glasses and I'm going to take out my notes. Bump, bump, bump. And I can see people are already agreeing with me. So one of the things I've noticed in the dating realm today is and in fact, I did a poll on this, but I believe a lot of people are dating, are connecting with people because they're feeling a level of loneliness and a level of depression. A level of loneliness and depression. And certainly, this was certainly heightened during the beginning phases of COVID, or at least that first year of COVID here in the United States being shut down, and they were shut down all over the world. But there was a level of loneliness and depression. So this caused a lot of people to bombard these devices, to bombard Bumble and Tinder and Hinge and all the different websites so they can feel a connection with another human being. And I believe it was actually a form of self-medication. In fact, I can say that for myself, even after my divorce, which was 15 years ago. I started online dating as a way to self-medicate because I was feeling so miserable because the tapestry of my life just fell apart and I needed some sense of connection with another human being. And I notice this is true of men and women as well, that the vast majority, by the way, I heard recently, and don't quote me on this, but in 1950, the roughly 22% of the population was single here in the United States. And as of 3 years ago, that number was closer to 55% of the population is single. Now, I'm assuming when they say single, that could be people in relationships but are not married. But think about that. There is a huge percentage of people are single. And these dating apps, do you know these dating apps are designed to keep you on the apps? I watched a documentary about this, not the Tinder swindler, another documentary about how the algorithm looks at who you swipe to send you people like what you like. So, but some of these people aren't even on the dating sites. So can you see how traumatized human beings can be, men and women alike? And so they're feeling a level of loneliness and depression. And then even the dating process can heighten this even more so to make us feel not good enough, not lovable, and not likable. So, sure, we can blame it on someone's testosterone levels go down, but let's look at the more important layers below what's really causing someone to go silent and not speak up. So loneliness and depression is number one. Number two, a significant percentage of the population is only dating from a place of spending time with someone and not growing with someone. Let me repeat that: spending time with someone and not growing with someone. And that's a big thing that we have to distinguish this, because this is really important. A significant number of people, men and women alike, are seeking a little bit of companionship, a little bit of connection, and a little bit of sex. Okay. And if they get a little bit of companionship, a little bit of connection, a little bit of sex during the week, not a lot of regular, could be once a week, maybe once other week, they feel a level of content. They're good at spending time with someone. Then there's other people like myself who genuinely want to grow with someone. They genuinely want to feel that level of chemistry, to feel that level of communication like you're talking to your best friend, to feel that level of compatibility where your lives blend together, to feel that level of character, meaning your values are similar to one another, to feel that level of building the roots to trust. And I talk about this in my private coaching, building the roots to trust. By the way, there's a link below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. Because I think it's really important to understand the roots to trust. And I'm not talking about just that trust of do I trust monogamy and exclusivity and non-infidelity. I'm talking about the trust of, can I trust that this person cares about my feelings as much as they care about their own feelings? And by the way, this is vice versa as well. So we see this significant percentage of the population that's mostly looking to spend time with someone and not actually growing with someone, not actually building a relationship with someone. Ladies, this is why if you're in that category like me, where you want to build a life with someone, then let me just say this before the penis goes inside the vagina. Read the book 8 Dates by Doctors John and Julie Gottman. By the way, there's a link below to Jonathon Recommends Books. I highly recommend this book before you begin investing in the wrong person, because a significant percentage of, and by the way, this is true of women. I know so many women, all they're capable of is spending time with someone and not actually growing with someone. And why is this critically important? Because when you only want to spend time with someone and not grow with them, then you're not building the roots of trust to feel emotionally safe to actually speak up. So what happens is people go silent. Men in particular go silent. And number three, one of the primary reasons why men go silent has nothing to do with testosterone, is they don't want to make promises they can't keep. They don't want to make promises that can't keep. What I mean to say is, men will not, listen, we'll come on strong to get laid. I mean, by the way, myself included, I'm a red-blooded male. When I'm feeling excitement for someone, I do tend to come on strong. It's limerence, it's lust. It's not love bombing. I mean, I'm not going overboard, because I do know when to apologize. But what I mean to say, or let me reframe that. I do know when there's a boundary from a woman, and it's important to listen to that boundary. A love bomber doesn't do that. But we men, and myself included, are driven by the sexual piece. So what the promise we can't keep is creating an environment of emotional intimacy or safety, because we're not ready for it. In fact, a significant number of men who are not ready to go deeper in relationship, because they're probably because they have unhealed wounds, childhood wounds and traumas, or adult traumas that makes it difficult for them to lean into a relationship. So they don't want to make any promises they can't keep. Now, I don't mean the promise of monogamy and exclusivity. I'm talking about emotional intimacy, and because once a woman is feeling a level of feelings for another person, we feel the sense of your attachment. So what I'm really saying, the promise we can't keep is, we don't want to overly show our feelings if we don't actually feel them. And I know this goes against all the rhetoric you hear, or partially because guys come on strong. So it makes it sound like they have feelings. They say things like, oh my God, you're so amazing. You're not like anyone I've ever met. How many times have you heard that from a guy? Maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times. I've probably said it a few times in my life. Oh my God, you're unlike anyone I met. And then I, wasn't interested in them, because the chemical cocktail of dopamine and testosterone was dripping through my body that made me think I had feelings for a person, because I hadn't developed that level of trust. So again, making a promise you can't keep. So one of the reasons men pull back or go silent is because they don't want to make a promise of feelings that they can't live up to. Number 4, men, a significant percentage of the population has weak emotional skills and weak relationship skills. If you're not familiar with my chart, emotional maturity relationship skills chart, by the way, this is not a fact, it's an opinion. but I believe roughly 20% of the population has clinical issues. And while I say over here 20% is healthy, I'm being rather generous with that 20% because everybody else, most everybody's in the dysfunctional category. And when you're dysfunctional in your relationship skills, that means you're dysfunctional in your communication skills, because most humans don't know how to truly articulate their feelings in a way to be seen, heard, and understood. This is why I continually recommend the book Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. Why do I talk about these books over and over and over again? Because if you want to get better at this, you have to learn, because most of us have been adopted with the idea that chemistry equals relationship success. And what's interesting, I'm reading a new book by Neil Clark Warren. He's the guy who started, the book is called Two Dates or Less. And I'm just starting to read this, so I can't endorse it yet. But why I'm reading this book is he's the guy who started eHarmony. And he believes that when you take compatibility and match it with chemistry, watch out. In fact, he claims to have a 97% success rate for his marriages. And by the way, some people think he's a nut job. Some people think the website is crap. I'm not here to endorse that. But what I am endorsing is the understanding that chemistry doesn't equal success. And if you're not familiar with my relationship iceberg, just like I was sharing before, below the surface, above the surface is chemistry. That's the first thing we see, and that's where we feel a level of attraction. But true compatibility is shared values, blendable lifestyles, and that emotional maturity. And as you start checking the boxes, the waterline of attraction begins to go further and further, and you feel more and more attracted to a person that you share the same values, your lifestyles are blendable, and you're feeling a level of emotional maturity, because weak emotional and relationship skills is why most people go silent, or they do the opposite, which women tend to do. When you have weak emotional skills or relationship skills, you vomit your feelings in an incoherent way. I was just listening to a woman in the jacuzzi telling me what she was going to tell this guy she was dating, and the guy and I looked at each other, and we're just looking at each other going, do you realize you said nothing? All you did was wah, 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 from Charlie Brown. She literally was making no coherent sense. That's what a lot of women do. And by the way, men are just as bad at this as well. So what's it going to take for a man to be able to speak up rather than, than go silent? Folks, it requires building trust in the relationship. And the way trust is built is through emotional safety and emotional intimacy. And if you're not familiar with the book Emotional Intimacy by Robert Masters, I highly recommend getting this book so you can learn emotional intimacy, because ultimately, I want to say this. You have to learn to ask better questions in the beginning. And these days, you are better also not just asking questions before you go on a date, but make sure you check out this person's Google imprint. Make sure you look into their life, because listen, not to scare you, because listen, online dating is the predominant way people are meeting, and that's not going to change. Most people aren't meet people in their tribe, village, town, or workplace. It's just not happening nearly as much. So this is the venue. And as I said in the beginning of this broadcast, we're meeting total strangers. So what is that going to require? Asking better questions, checking them out on whether it's Google, Instagram, do a Google search for someone. Don't be naive to this. And slow the process down. Slow the process down. And if you're with a guy who's slow, then speed the process up. But remember this. Men are the gas typically when it comes to sex, and you are the brakes. And do not have sex with someone until they know do you know how many people have sex? They don't know each other's birth dates. They don't know each other's best friends. They don't know each other's favorite color. They don't know where the person went to high school. And yet the penis will fucking go inside the vagina with little or no effort. And so if you wonder why it's a clusterfuck out there, this is a compilation of what's going on. And the only way to shift this story is to begin, first off, Study all the books I recommend. Go back and watch some of my other videos. I recommend so many different books so you can become a relationship expert, because these days it requires, by the way, and I know you're probably all saying, but ladies, men should be doing this too. I get it. But if they're not doing it, then you're going to have to lead by example. I have clients telling me over and over again, Jonathan, I listened to your advice. Before the penis gets to go inside the vagina, I'm making the guy read this book together with me. This is a great way to develop intimacy with someone. And once you start a relationship with someone, I highly recommend reading this book. Where is this book? I highly recommend reading this book. I Hear You, a surprisingly simple skill behind extraordinary relationships. This is a brand new book I'm reading. You can read it together. Folks, there's two other books you should be checking out as well. Don't be naive to this. How to Build Trust in Relationship and Couples Communication. These are easy books to read, and you can do it together. But Jonathan, that's going away. Folks, you want to overwhelm the wrong guy, because the right guy, if you're not familiar with my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? Again, there's a link below, selflovethebook.com, little plug. Chapter 1, Speak Your Truth, Do It With Kindness. Chapter 9, if it's sincere and from the heart, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. And I'm so excited because a client just texted me on Valentine's Day to tell me she met her guy, and she could tell the difference. And so we were having a conversation, and she goes, Jonathan, you won't believe it. We're reading the book 8 Dates together. We're watching the movie you recommend. I recommend this. I recommend in my private coaching. I recommend a lot of videos for couples to watch together. And the purpose is, this is what builds intimacy, not how's your day going? Did you have a good day? I hope you had a good day. Did you have a really good day? Have a blessed day. You know, most people are, by the way, this is why I get so bored with the current dating process, because just like you are frustrated with men who are lacking inquisitiveness, I feel the same way. So many of you are unconscious. So I'm shoving this down your throat, these books, because I make you a promise. When you can have faith in yourself and trust in yourself, you actually become a magnetic attractor to what you want. So I invite you all to begin to pray. Now, I don't mean pray to a religious God. I'm talking to God, universe, or spirit. I call it Gus. I want you to pray to Gus. I want you to find that space within you that emits, I'm seeking that person that I have chemistry with. I'm seeking that person that we have mutual great communication with one another. I'm seeking that person where we can blend lives together. I'm seeking that person where we can where we have a level of shared values. And lastly, I'm seeking that person where we can build the level of trust through emotional maturity together. And when I say that person, I say it as a we, because a we is what's going to take you to that next level. And that's my invitation for you. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating? Please give me an amen. All right. I think you get the gist. Why do guys go silent? It's not just because their testosterone levels drop. Although, hey, when I ejaculate, I do tend to not want to talk. I'm a guy, but at the same time, it's not about testosterone. It's a level of emotional maturity and ultimately emotional safety in a relationship. And it's incumbent upon you all to start doing the social activities, hobbies, and mutual interests so you can build the roots to trust that will take it from a person going silent versus a person who's going to lean into a relationship, and you're going to grow together versus spending time together. Thank you so much. All right, now it's time for Q&A. If you're familiar with my format, you can simply purchase it. You can write the word question and post the question thereafter, or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. This is only for those that are on the video live. There's a $ in the chat box. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of Connor, my son Connor Aslay, who passed away. And sadly, his dog today passed. They had to put him down, his 14-and-a-half-year-old dog. Connor passed away before Duke did, but that's Connor. And the scholarship fund is in his name. So again, check out the $sign if you want to donate to the scholarship fund. All the monies from the scholarship fund goes to defray the cost of personal development, self-help for those, and to donate to those causes like the Hoffman process and insight seminars. So I'd really appreciate that. All right, let's check out the Q&A board. We already have some amens from Donna, Nancy, and so forth. Let's see if we have any questions. If you have a question, post the word question, write their question there after, or purchase a super sticker, super chat. Let's go swim in. It's easier for me to find these when you write the word question and then post the question there after. Oh, here we go. Laura writes, oh, sorry, I butchered your name, Miss White. Question. Do you have active the hero instinct in a man to share a connection with them? Do you have active the hero instinct in the man to share a connection with them? I don't understand that question. Please rewrite it for me so I can get a better sense of what you're asking. So thank you so much. All right, let's see what else we have. All right, well, listen, looks like we have a bashful group. So if you want to jump on board, oh, here we go. Nicole writes, question. My friend always texted this guy she likes, but he is not letting her see his face like on FaceTime. Is that a red flag for her? Great question. So here's my rule of thumb. I have a simple rule of thumb in dating. It's called 3, 2, 1, 3. 3, 2, 1, 3. All right. If you connect with a guy on one of these sites, dating apps, dating sites, whatever, no more than 3 text communications should lead to no more than 2 telephone calls that should lead no more to a date, all in a 3-week period of time. 3, 2, 1, 3. So in that telephone call, just say, hey, I'd feel more comfortable if we're going to continue this engagement. I'd feel more comfortable that we do FaceTime, or by the way, you can do it on Instagram. You can do it on, if you have 2 different types of phones. If someone's not willing to show their face, then how serious are they? How serious are they? Look at, folks, after the movie Tinder Swindler, you have every right to ask for a credit report from someone to go out on a date. And that's an exaggeration. I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek. But you have every right to ask for a FaceTime. In fact, I highly recommend it with the amount of, listen, folks, sadly, my photos are stolen daily to be used on scam sites. And by the way, the number of scams is probably 10% of the online dating, experience out there. But hey, a lot of people use a lot of crappy photos. Oh my God, let me just share with you a photo. Just to give you an illustrating example, but I was just shocked. Here's a woman's first photo. I'm like, who is it? Like, what are you doing? Like, I'm like, how unconscious can you be to make that your first photo? Here's another person's first photo. And I'm like, look at, listen, if someone is wearing a Halloween costume, would you walk up to them? No. So you have every right to ask for a face to connect with them on that way. So I definitely recommend that. So who was asking that question? I think it was Nicole. Thank you so much for that question. I really appreciate it. Let's see what else we have. Jeannie says, question, what are your thoughts about asking a man to hold you, hug you, not in an intimate way? I am in need of being held and hugged. Well, I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love right now, Jeannie. If it's a total stranger, I'd want to feel a level of comfort. Or I would ask a friend, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow, and hug them. I would be careful with total stranger, although I've met women on first dates, and one of the first things we've done is we've given each other a hug. Now, maybe I create a safe space for them to feel that way, but I'm a big proponent of hugs, But certainly if you just met someone for the first time, they may not be comfortable, so I may not ask it right away. Or I would ask permission. Would it be okay if I give you a hug? Would it be okay would it be okay if we give each other a hug? That's the way I would handle that. And that's my suggestion on that one. So Jeannie, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. All right, let's keep going here. Good. We got some super stickers. I want to thank Monica for the 99-cent super sticker. Thank you so much. Connor's going to appreciate that. Nancy writes, question. If a man goes silent, how do I make it clear it's okay for him to be exactly how he is and feels? That I'd rather know than be subjected to silence and wondering. I love this question. This reminds me of when my my previous significant relationship. Occasionally, I would send off an email to her, and she took hours upon hours to respond back, and that triggered my anxious attachment style. I happen to be an anxious attachment style. At least I used to be. I'm more secure now than ever before. And then I thought, you know what? And then she told me she was always busy. So what I did was I used to put at the bottom of any text or email, I'd say NRR. NRR. That meant no response required. And what that did, it gave her space to answer when she felt like it was time for her to answer. So you have to recognize that this incessant expectation of communication might be difficult for some people. So you might putting NRR is like giving a present without expecting something back. Okay. It's just you're expressing something with no expectation back. If someone genuinely goes silent, and let me go back to this question one more time. Um, Listen, I'm also a big believer that when we communicate with each other is to be conscious in your communication by saying, look, I know this might take time for you to process what I just said. So you can actually think about it ahead of time. How might he react to this? And maybe come at it from, I used to think of, I'll think of a Star Trek analogy. Captain Kirk would go to Scotty, I need more power. And Scotty would say it would take 4 hours. And Captain Kirk will say, I need it in 15 minutes. And he'd say, let me get back to you. The point is, predict. That's what Scotty did. He used to say something would take a long time, but actually do it in a short time. In other words, he thought ahead so he can always look like a miracle worker. Think ahead. If what you're going to say might cause a reaction, then think ahead by saying, hey, it's okay if it takes time for you to respond back. That way, it takes the pressure off of the expectation. When I said earlier, men don't want to make promises they can't keep, it's the expectation that you want something from us before we're ready to give it. Now, you might be thinking, well, Jonathon, we give our bodies before we want to. Well, yeah, you shouldn't do that either. So please forgive me. Just had to adjust my pants. So that's how I'd respond to that. Does that help? I hope it does. Nancy, thank you so much for that question. I really appreciate it. All right, here's a good one. Ethereal Vixen says, question. I'm dating a 37-year-old guy, and he goes 1 or 2 days max. He goes 1 or 2 days max of not hearing from him. Or you go 1 or 2. Is it normal for the beginning phases of that for a relationship? Absolutely. Listen, I know that men who are genuinely serious, will most likely reach out once a day or once every other day. That's men who are genuinely serious. Okay. Now, there are men that are in that I'm uncertain phase that it might take 1, 2, or 3 days to reach out. But you know what pisses me off? Why aren't women reaching out? Why is it always, I haven't heard from the guy in 10 days? I'm like, why haven't you fucking texted him? Folks, we got to stop this expectation that men are always the one to initiate communication or initiate dates or initiate anything. I highly recommend letting go of that. You have by the way, read the book. By the way, I highly recommend reading the book If the Buddha Dated. This book is about throwing out all the bullshit gender rhetoric. Listen, I know many of you will tell me biology speaking, men must be the leaders. And I know a lot of people will say men must be the leaders. After you read this book, you'll understand that you are more empowered when you're an active participant in the process. And guess what? Dysfunctional men won't appreciate it, but they're dysfunctional. Men who are genuinely serious, guys like myself, we appreciate women who make effort. Most grown-up men want women to make just as much effort, at least Listen, I'm not saying match the effort. I'm saying make effort. So that includes reaching out. But to answer your question, original question, yes, it's very common for a guy who even likes you to take a day or two to not reach out. And by the way, maybe he's testing you. Maybe he's seeing, is she going to reach out to me? You might want to check that out as well. All right, Ethereal Vixen, thank you so much for that question. I really appreciate it. All right, let's go swimming. Heather, $10 super sticker. Yay! Giving today because I love dogs and because I've been giving you a hard time lately. Thank you so much, Heather. I've noticed that. Um, and thank you for the $10 donation to the Connor Aslay Scholarship Fund. And Connor's dog, his name is Duke, and I'm feeling sad for him. Little cute little oh, that here's a picture of Connor's dog. Let me show everyone. It's on my I babysat the dog one day, and this is on my Bumble profile. Hey, I get credit for babysitting or dog sitting. So let me show you a picture of Duke. Here's a picture of Duke. Aw, so thank you for the super sticker. I really appreciate it. All right, let's keep going swimming. All right. Ah. My crush tells me, oh, let's see what Just Love says. My crush tells me that he loves me, but that he understands if I meet a friend or make a boyfriend because of distance. He lives in the US. I live in Mexico. Do you think I don't care? Okay, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Let's see what Nicole has to say. This guy, like for a while, says he's happy being single. Should I just move on? Well, it's interesting. My last significant relationship ended, gosh, 4 years ago. And I've really gotten accustomed to enjoying my own company. I've really gotten accustomed to enjoying who I am as a person. So it's not that I enjoy being single, and I'm not suggesting I'm him. I'm just suggesting is that it's very common for someone when they've actually got their routine to get used to that routine. So the real question I ask for you is to find out how serious is this person want to be in a relationship. Ladies, again, if you're letting the penis go inside the vagina, why aren't you reading the book 8 Dates together? Because here's the thing. If someone says they want to be single, did you get a commitment? Did you agree? By the way, before you fuck together, before you fuck, did you find out if he wants monogamy? Did you find out if he wants exclusivity? I can't tell you how many women I speak to on a regular basis didn't ask those questions. And I'm sorry to use a kind of a vulgar descriptive, and that's not vulgar. Penis and vagina isn't vulgar, but it might seem that way. But when you have sex with someone, that's a very intimate act. It's one of the most intimate, next to real heart centered communication. It could be, if not more, the most intimate act on the planet. And yet people will do that without really connecting with the person to trust that they really have your best interest at heart. Isn't that sad? You know, the reason why people got married before sex is because it showed trust. It showed some level of trust. And we're no longer, like we are such in a bastardized way of dating these days. And again, listen, I'm a dating coach. And I'm so happy my clients experience amazing success. I mean, I get phone calls all the time. Jonathon, I met a great guy. Jonathon, I met a great guy. Jonathon, I met a great guy. And they know the difference. And I've already been to a number of weddings from clients. And I know it's because I'm teaching this. Okay. I just realized what I'm teaching. How to be an adult in relationship. Not that I'm teaching from this book, but I'm teaching how to actually start acting like grown-ups. And so few of you, and I know this pisses some of you off that I'm feels like I'm talking to you, but I'm saying this as a generalization because so few of you act like a grown-up because the men are supposed to claim me and all I gotta do is sit back in my feminine. No, that's not how it works. Because the vast majority of human beings are dysfunctional. How do you get out of your dysfunctionality? Through personal development, through self-help, through spiritual work to heal childhood wounds and traumas and adult traumas so you can actually learn how to communicate in a more healthy way. And just like this client that texted me on Valentine's Day. She's like, we're already beginning what I call church. So one of the things I invited her to do, and I invite you all to do this, is if you're beginning a relationship with someone, after right around the time you have sex with each other, is to introduce what I call church. Now, I don't mean this in a religious sense. I mean this in a building emotional safety with one another. And what I recommended to her is once a week they get together, they listen to a CD, they read a book, they watch a video for no more than 20 to 30 minutes about a topic related to relationships. You might want to look up the work of Esther Perel. She wrote the book Mating in Captivity. You can check out her work. You can check out Brene Brown's work. You can check out Joe Dispenza's work. You can check out Marianne Williamson's work, Return to Love. Here's a CD. Or even Barbara DeAngelis, How to Make Love All the Time. And just talk about it together. But Jonathan, that will scare a guy away. Listen, folks. Your relation, let's see, Esther Perel says, the quality of your life is predicated on the quality of your relationships. Now, first, it starts with the relationship with self. Coming back to my book, okay? But then your interpersonal relationships are the most important thing in your life. Listen, as much as you might like your car or your jewelry or your bags or how to carry from Sex and the City, it was all about shoes, 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 okay? But her relationships with her friends were most important to her. And I'm here to say your intimate romantic relationship is critically important. And don't be so naive to think men know what the fuck they're doing. Men are rather fucking clueless. They're winging it. Most men don't know they don't know the mechanics to a healthy, happy relationship. So listen, if they don't know it, assume, just like Scotty in Star Trek, as I shared before, just assume men don't know. That way you can let go of that whole feminine energy and leaning back. And you can, by the way, do you know in skiing, when you're skiing down a slope, you're actually taught to lean in. I know it's natural to want to lean back, but you'll fall when you lean back because your skis go up. You have to lean into a relationship. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. I don't dislike, well, I do dislike a few feminine energy coaches because I think they're selling you on princess energy. But what I'm really trying to encourage everyone is stop taking this shit for granted and start leaning into your life. Because listen, for many of us, the days in front of us are shorter than the days behind us. We don't have time to fuck around. And don't waste time with people who are not going to engage in real desire to develop real trust with one another. Repeat after me. It's raining great men who want to build trust. It's raining great men who want to build trust. It's raining great men who want to build trust. Can I get an amen? All right. Thank you so much. I went off on a complete tangent there. But hopefully I answered your question, Nicole. All right, let's go swimming. And did I get any amens? Okay, wow. Whew. Marianne has a personal question for me. Let's see what you say here. Personal question. Do you believe that more that you work on yourself is how you draw in the same likeness to yourself? And how do you avoid vulnerability being so open? So I'm assuming this is for me, or maybe this is for you. By the way, we're getting a lot of amens. So I'm wondering, actually, I'm going to answer this for myself. So I'm wondering if all of this work has made it harder for me to find a mate. And I think the answer is yes. And let me explain why. Because I recognize that the vast majority of human beings are emotionally dysfunctional and have weak relationship skills. So what's important to me is first, I've kind of been thinking about some really important criteria for me, and I invite this for you all as well. Y'all. Number one, I'm seeking someone who's spiritual but not religious. Now, for me, I just don't believe in religious doctrine. However, a relationship with God, universe, and spirit is of utmost importance to me. Someone who has a relationship with God, universe, or spirit. And number two, somebody who is actively doing personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. And I mean, that might include going to a therapist, but they're either genuinely interested in the books I talk about, the personal development books, as well as the relationship books, but they've actually done some healing with childhood wounds and trauma. So one of the first questions I ask a woman is, are you familiar with childhood wounds and traumas? Are you familiar with childhood wounds and traumas? And if yes, what healings have you done what healing have you done in your life? Because I'm I just basically assume 9 out of 10 women I might get to talk to are rather, you know, emotion have deep wounds and traumas. Now that might be assumptive on my part, but I believe most everybody has it. So with that said, I think it's important. I think the more conscious and enlightened you become, and what I mean to say is aware that that everything happens for you, not to you. I think a significant percentage of the population, men and women alike, are operating from victim consciousness. They're suckling on the nipple of victim consciousness. Let me suck on that nipple of victim consciousness. Here in the United States, our entire news organizations are feeding the victim narrative, the victim consciousness narrative. And whenever I sniff that out from a person, I move on. So it makes it harder. But I also believe, I know I'll meet someone, we have great chemistry. I know I'll meet someone that has great communication skills with me. I know I'm going to meet someone whose lifestyle is blendable with mine. I know I'll meet someone whose values share mine. And I know I'll meet someone where we can build the roots to trust. I don't even give it a second thought, whether it happens tomorrow when I walk out of the house or 10 years from now. It doesn't matter when. What matters most is the relationship I have with myself. And that's my invitation for you all. The relationship you have with yourself is the most important relationship in your life. And I say this, folks, because many of you know I lost a child. And losing Connor, it didn't just break me open, it was an invitation to really explore what it means to love on oneself. And so, in his honor, I wrote this book. He was the inspiration for my book of What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? Because I know it's a vaccination to emotional chaos, vaccination to emotional chaos. Because I know I suffer from not feeling good enough, not feeling lovable, not feeling likable. And every day I take ownership of my part. And I did something stupid the other day. I sent a passive aggressive text message to someone because I was pissed off. I was able to catch it and then reply back with an apology to go with it. And whether they accept it or not, I don't know. But my point is, I'm human just like anyone else. And at the end of the day, what I'm seeking is a human being who's at least willing to say, you know what, I've got problems and I'm working on it. So that's the questions I ask very early on to at least make sure we're on the same page, not because I want to spend all day on personal development, but what I really want is to build that level of emotional intimacy with someone so we can have a juicy, delicious, healthy relationship. I haven't said juicy, delicious in a long time. A juicy, delicious, healthy relationship. And I want all of you to feel that level of juicy, delicious, healthy relationship at some point in your life. Thank you for that question. I really appreciate it. I hope I answered it. If I did, Marianne, please let me know later on this. So thank you so much. All right, let's see. Hey, you can purchase a super sticker, super chat before we wrap up today. That I'm going to allow for one more personal question of me. If you have a personal question of me, please let me know. Let's see what we have here. Oh, write the word personal question and then the question thereafter if you have a question to ask me personally. What does Maryville say? Mayville says, question, he texted me. I reply, no response. He texted me, I reply, no. I returned his missed call. He doesn't answer. So I text him and no response back. What's that all about? He's a child. He's an emotional child. Like, you want to get on the horn? What the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Are you just a fucking emotional child? Because you're acting like a fucking emotional child. Like, what is it about people that are so emotionally immature. I get it. Listen, I got to have compassion because I guarantee you something, Mayville. He's probably he was really fucked up as a childhood or had real fucked up shit that happened as an adulthood that makes him rather dysfunctional. So, you know what? I'd say just send him a text message, bye, exclamation point, and this. I know that's very childish, but you know what? I wouldn't put up with that shit. I wouldn't put up with that shit. That's just me talking. I hope that helped, though. All right. Susie says, you seem so authentic. I cracked open also when I lost my Nate. Yeah, that's what loss will do for you. Thank you for sharing that, Susie. Tuesday says, amen to juicy and delicious. Amen, Tuesday. I agree. BU says, I love your content. Have to go catch my mentoring program. There you go. All right. Personal question above. Melinda, I don't see it. So you're going to have to post it again. All right. Let's see what we have here. Marilyn says, Jonathan, I'm so glad I'm not the only one who has been divorced for decades. Yeah. Grace says, I love Matthew Hussey. You know what? I actually have a great deal of respect for Matthew Hussey. He tends to speak to a younger crowd of 20 and 30-year-olds, where I tend to speak to 40 and 50 and 60-year-olds. But I love, you know what? A lot of dating coaches genuinely care. What I like about Matthew, not, you don't have to love everything about him, but what I like about him is he's constantly thinking. He's like me. He's constantly thinking of ways to give you new information in a different way. My way is doing it through recommending books and personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. I'm not going to try to sell you on a $50,000 program. I'm here to say you can get a lot of great advice and help through books for a couple $100. I think Matthew is great, and so I'm glad that his name came up. I really have a great deal of respect for him. All right. And then I also met him for. Monique says, do you really believe that only healthy people deserve love? No, of course I don't believe that. Everybody deserves love. Even the most heinous person on the planet deserves love. Think about some of the people that are very wounded. Listen, everybody, hurt people hurt people. Repeat after me. Hurt people, but they're hurting. What they need most is compassion. Now, I'm not suggesting you ever compromise a boundary, but people that are hurting, what they most want is love. I never met the man, but I'm assuming Jesus operated from that place. And again, I have no idea. I'm making an assumption here. But I'm here to say, even when someone has done me wrong, and I've had trolls and assholes and a lot of people that have done me wrong, after I motherfuck them, I then shift back to compassion, because let me tell you my mantra I say to myself every day. Loving myself and everyone else, loving myself and everyone else, loving myself and everyone else. I do my best to operate that way. Can I act like a bonehead? Absolutely. Can I be passive aggressive at times? Absolutely. Can I get defensive? Can I be stubborn? Can I self-crucify myself? Absolutely. And at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer that everybody needs love. It's not healthy people. It's just healthy people tend to have better relationships. They're not as dysfunctional. Okay. I think emotionally healthier people have better relationships. I think dysfunctional people have horrific relationships and moments. It's because when two egos get together, they're more focused on themselves and not the we. The we. Trust is built through the we. So the more emotionally mature a person, the greater trust is built. But no, I think everybody deserves love. Does everyone agree with me? Just write in the comments, everybody deserves love. I know you might hate people, you might be angry. I do believe they deserve it, because who knows? Maybe it takes that one shift for the dominoes to. All right, that's just a rough thought. All right, I'll take one more questions. One more question. What makes your heart dance? So I love this question. And I'm going to wrap up with this question. What gives me oxygen in the dating realm? Well, I mean, beside my son and by the way, I was asked to date YouTube, and I had a conversation with the YouTube reps that work with me. They said, "What gets you up in the morning?" And I tell you, I said, "It's the comments that the work that I'm doing is making a difference. That the work when I get you when you all comment on the comment section of a video or even in the live stream." When I get you're making a difference for me, that makes my heart dance. But I want to share with you my oxygen. And that is when I talk with someone, let me reframe that. When me and another person are talking with each other and not at each other. That's my oxygen. When someone talks with me, I just connected with a woman who lives far away, and it's a through a dating app. And she wrote, we had this beautiful exchange between each other. It's not going to work because of the distance, and I'm really saddened because she was talking with me and not at me, and I was feeling that oxygen. That's my oxygen when people talk with me and not at me, and what that means is they actually ask me questions to get to know who I am because I'm always asking questions to get to know another person. And that's my prayer for myself. All right. And who wrote that question? Jeannie, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. All right. Has this live stream been of value? Please say yes, say amen, say spot on, say thank you. I'd really like to know before we wrap up today. Really quickly, if you'd like to schedule a discovery call with me, check out the link below. Check out my group called Midlife Love Mastery. Check out my website. Check out my Instagram. Check out my podcast, the What Would Love Do podcast. Join my mailing list. Share this video with friends. Hit that like button. Please hit that like button right now to let me know so I can be seen in the YouTube algorithms. And I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, giving myself a big, gigantic Jonathon Bear hug of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to a friend, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use a lot more love in our lives. I want to thank Yasmin, I misspelled your name, Florida, Sandra, Kitty Cat, Sherry, Danielle, Jennifer, M.A. Bucking, Jackie, Owen, oops, hey, sweetheart, Natalie, Susie, Kitty Cat, Allie, Jeannie, SX90, Sandra, D, Nicole, Annette, Marianne, Trisha, Heather, everyone. Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? No, it's Wednesday. All right, everyone. Catherine. Thank you so much. Wishing you a super duper wonderful night. Bye now.